What is up, guys, and welcome to today's video. Just before we start, again, a quick shout out to everybody who decided to comment, to like the video, to subscribe to the channel based on the previous video. I really appreciate it, guys. I really do. Like I said in the previous video, to think that I started off with videos that were getting like 5 views, and now we're getting like 100. I know the FA Cup one got over 500 views, which was just fantastic. And it seems the channel is growing with each video, and I just like to say thank you to everybody who is providing any sort of support in any way, shape or form. Like I said, whether it's comments, likes, views, and subscriptions, I really appreciate it, so thank you once again. Before we get into today's video, just some feedback on the last prediction video, which was the UEFA Europa Confederations League final between West Ham and Fiorentina. So just some context going into this one. Somehow Italy managed to get a team in the finals of each one of Europe's top competitions, and they haven't won a single one so far, which is very concerning. So at first I was a bit on the fence about West Ham and Fiorentina, because these are two teams that not everybody knows much about, myself included. But I really did think that Fiorentina would fight for this trophy. I felt like because Fiorentina lost out in the Coppa Italia to Inter Milan, they would want something to show for the season. And they played okay for the most part. First half ended 0-0, and then I think it was like 10 minutes into the second half already there was a goal at each end, so it was 1-1. And then you could see like Fiorentina kind of took their foot off the accelerator for a bit. And it looked like they were playing for extra time, or for penalties. They were okay with the draw, and West Ham obviously weren't. David Moyes told his players to get out there and win it. And yeah, 10 minutes before time, I think it was, West Ham got a winner. It was a good goal. It was a fantastic counter-attacking movement. And yeah, West Ham ended up winning that one. So obviously our prediction was wrong. But yeah, I think the match was sort of soured by, again, some unsavory scenes at the stadium. This time West Ham fans were culprits. They threw some, I think it looked like bottles onto the pitch, and it hit one of the Fiorentina players, and his head was just bleeding all over the show. Again, like I've said in the previous video, that is something that needs to be taken out of football immediately. Those people need to be found as soon as possible, and they need to get some serious jail time. I think stadium bans is just like a slap on the wrist, because it's a case of these days people will have the mentality of, oh, I can go out and do this, and once it's done, you know, I've done it, I don't really need to worry about anything. But jail time is a serious consequence, and I think that needs to happen. And hell, if UEFA or FIFA feels like it, you can even make the club pay a hefty fine. So yeah. But on to today's video. So I'm so excited for this match. I really am. For me, there's so many underlying plots and underlying themes in this one, storylines. You've got Edin Dzeko, firstly, who's playing for Inter now. He's a fantastic player for Inter. Everybody thought his time was up, and he played for Manchester City when they just started winning trophies. He was part of that squad that won the Premier League for the first time with Manchester City. And obviously he was regarded as surplus to requirements there. And now he's made it to a Champions League final with Inter. And then you've got the same story with Romelu Lukaku, who is sort of an outcast in the Premier League right now. Played fantastically for Inter, flopped at Man United and Chelsea, and went back to Inter on loan, and looks like he's rediscovered his form again. So I think, yeah, for players like Lukaku, and I think Matteo Darmian as well, leaving United and going to Inter now in a Champions League final, it's kind of like a story of redemption, you know. And then Man City, in their own way, it's a story of redemption for them, because they came so close 2 years ago, coming to the final and then losing to Chelsea, and arguably a Chelsea team that wasn't really that great, but they just didn't have enough in them to go all the way. And for them, this is it. This is now the time where they get to come good on all of these promises that City have made to their fans, you know, constantly threatening in the Champions League, this being the biggest tournament in world football right now, arguably, and City have always just gotten close and then stopped and gotten close and stopped, and I don't think they're gonna get a better opportunity than this one. Now that's not me saying that Inter is easy, but I think that City are just on some fantastic form right now. But before we give too much away, let's get on to the actual video and the team analysis for Manchester City. Okay, in their last 5 matches, Manchester City have 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. The draw and the loss, I feel, really is just insignificant. It doesn't matter because at that point, both of those results came in the Premier League, and they were results that sort of occurred after City had already wrapped up the Premier League title. So, obviously, Guardiola had his mind on more important fixtures, obviously being the FA Cup final last week against Manchester United, and then this one against Inter Milan happening this weekend. Speaking of the FA Cup final, that was their last result, a 2-1 victory over Manchester United. It was hilarious. Gundogan opened the scoring in the first minute. I didn't even put my PC on. I was getting ready to tweet about it. PC was booting up and I get a notification on my phone that Manchester City have scored. And I'm like, whoa, okay, how did that happen? It was just insanity. And I think a lot of people thought after that it's going to be a total massacre for United, but United managed to pull themselves back together. They got an equalizer in the 33rd minute, courtesy of a Bruno Fernandes penalty. I think there was a handball in the box. I don't know if it was Grealish, I think, but a handball. Bruno steps up, scores, and it looks like a much more even game at that point. And then Gundogan in the 51st minute got his brace and scored again. There was a lot of bodies in the box, but he managed to get a shot off, and the ball sort of trickles into the back of the net. It's a very slow goal, and like I said, a lot of people were criticizing David De Gea for that one, unfairly, I feel, because there were so many bodies in front of him, and he probably just expected the ball to hit somebody. Fair enough, you should be still diving for that, but it obviously caught him off guard, and City ended up winning 2-1 in the FA Cup, which puts them on course for a treble if they win against Inter this weekend. I think players to watch for Manchester City, obviously Erling Haaland with 12 goals. He is the Champions League's top scorer this season. Kevin De Bruyne with his 6 assists. He's the Champions League assist leader this season. Those two have struck up such a fantastic partnership. Haaland, I do have my issues with Haaland right now though. I feel against Real Madrid, they kind of showed that, I think it was Antonio Rudiger who had him marked. They showed that, you can kind of mark Haaland out of the game and make him very insignificant. But then this is where players like Kevin De Bruyne step up, players like Gundogan, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva. It gives all of them the opportunity to get on the ball and to write their names into history, and I think De Bruyne, having done so twice against Arsenal earlier on in the season, in what I would like to call the Premier League final, because that was definitely a crucial point in the Premier League. De Bruyne's creativity, for me, at this point in world football is unmatched. I think at his level, when he's on his day, he's just at a completely different level. I think it's only a matter of time before we start getting the comparisons with Xavi and Iniesta. And I think he's starting to sort of prove that he deserves to be in that bracket. But something that he does better than them, that I would say, is that he also takes shots. So he's also a goal-scoring creative midfielder. But something that I think he does a little worse than them is he tends to lose the ball a little bit more. So I think with De Bruyne, what you do is you sacrifice a bit of defensive stability for more offensive power. And that brings us to our third player to watch for Manchester City, Ilkay Gundogan. So while De Bruyne sacrifices a little bit of defense for offense, Gundogan does the opposite. But the problem with that is everybody looks at Gundogan and feels like, because he's a defensive midfielder, he can't really score. And I mean, he scored a brace against United. He scored 2 goals earlier on, I think in the beginning of May or in the middle of May. So Gundogan has proven that he can score goals as well. I think City have a very, very well-rounded squad this season. I think this could possibly be their best chance of winning the the Champions League. Not just the players on the pitch, but the players on the bench as well. The three players that I've spoken about, I feel, are just going to be so crucial. I expect either a goal or an assist from any of them, or maybe even from all of them. But let's move on to our team analysis for Inter Milan. Okay, FC Internazionale, aka Inter Milan. In their last 5 matches, Inter have 4 wins and a single loss. The last match was a 1-0 win against Torino away from home. It was sort of an even match up until the 37th minute when Brozovic got the opener for Inter. It was a long-range strike, a very, very good strike. And you can see it's the perfect blend of accuracy and power to put it past the keeper. I think with Inter, the players we need to be watching here is definitely Edin Dzeko. Edin Dzeko is currently Inter's top scorer with 4 goals, and he's got an assist to boot as well. Like I said, there's so many underlying plot lines in this fixture. One of them being this return of Dzeko, or Dzeko having to face his former club in a final that is just so pivotal and so crucial to both of them. For Dzeko, this might actually be his last chance at the Champions League trophy, and he's going to want to go all out. I know that Simone Inzaghi has a bit of an issue whether he should pick Dzeko or Lukaku, but most of the time these days he's started Dzeko and then just brought Lukaku off the bench to hammer things home when it's necessary. So I think Lukaku is actually somebody we need to watch as well. Simply because he's the typical super sub at this point for Inter. When Lukaku plays, the understanding that Lukaku has with Lautaro Martinez is just fantastic. I don't think I've seen a better strike partnership in my life, because the two of them, it shouldn't work. It really shouldn't work. Neither one of them is a super quick player who leaves defenders in the dust, but they're so intelligent and their understanding is just so perfect and so refined that they know exactly when to move the ball to one another or when to hold onto it and take a shot. So I think Lukaku is also going to be somebody definitely that we need to watch. And then Lautaro Martinez. So Lautaro Martinez at this point has 3 goals and 3 assists for Inter. So he is equally important in terms of creativity and in terms of putting away goals. Between Dzeko and Lukaku, whichever one starts, Martinez is definitely going to start alongside them. Martinez, like I said in previous videos, I feel lately Martinez has matured. He's learned how to move the ball better. He's learned when to release the ball, when to hold on to the ball. For me, Lautaro Martinez has sort of changed the way he plays. He can play as a number 9 and he's very good at it. But he's sort of tailored his game to sort of play as a kind of number 10 if necessary as well. And I think that's what's making him so effective this season is everybody's still treating him as a number 9. But he's not afraid to move in deeper, to pick the ball up, to distribute it all over the pitch for Inter. And I think Martinez is definitely going to score or assist today. Between Dzeko or Lukaku, one of them will score or assist. But I think Lautaro Martinez it's a definite. If Inter score, he will be involved, because that's just how important he is to their system right now. Okay, on to the S3M2 verdict. Now, this is a bit of a rough one because, firstly, I have a special place in my heart for both of these clubs. Anybody who's watched this channel will know that I have both the kits. I didn't know which one to wear for this video, but I went with Inter because I wore the I think I wore the Man City kit for the FA Cup final. So I just felt like, let's even it out a little. I wouldn't say these teams are evenly matched. I really wouldn't. If you look at all of the predictions right now and all of the stats, the odds are stacked very heavily in Man City's favor. I think it's like 65 to 35. That's how heavily it's stacked. But I think really there's just so much I'd love to say about these two teams. City right now are looking like the unstoppable force in European football, having massacred teams like Real Madrid on their way to the final. RB Leipzig as well, we'll remember that one. And then Inter Milan are looking more like immovable object. I think, with Inter, defensively, they are so disciplined, so solid. Everybody knows exactly what to do, when to do it. I think the only time that I've seen Inter genuinely come undone was, I think, was it against Napoli, where they just fell apart. But other than that, Inter have been so good from start to finish. I think those three centre backs for the Nerazzurri, I think it's Bastoni, Acerbi, and Skriniar will have their hands full dealing with Erling Haaland. They're gonna have to try and emulate what Antonio Rudiger did. The wing backs, I think it's Di Marco, him in particular, playing as right back for Inter. He's the assist leader right now in the Champions League as well, for Inter Milan. I think he's going to have his hands full on that wing, dealing with the likes of either Jack Grealish or Phil Foden, whoever it is who is put in front of him. So they're going to need so much of help. I think what's going to happen is City are going to end up doing what City do best, keeping the ball, putting pressure on you, trying to pin you back. And I think that's the kind of environment that Inter will thrive in, actually, because they will just stick to their guns with this defensive blockade and then hit you so quickly and so hard on the counter attack that the ball is in the back of your net before you can even understand what's happening. And like I said, because Lautaro Martinez and Romelu Lukaku have struck up this kind of understanding, and Martinez in particular has matured to the extent where he knows exactly when to release the ball and when to hold on to it. He is, I would say, probably the most important ingredient to Inter's counter-attacking right now. I think also with City, obviously Erling Haaland having those 12 goals is just a perfect example of why I say City are right now the unstoppable force in European football. Haaland finds ways to score. He just does. Lately, it's been a bit of a dry spell for him, but it doesn't matter because the others are stepping up. Gundogan, De Bruyne, whoever needs to score goals is doing it. It's a fantastic team performance from Manchester City. But then on the other end of the spectrum, like I said, immovable object with Inter Milan, because Onana has the most clean sheets in the Champions League this season. I think it's 7 clean sheets. So you could arguably call it Europe's best attack right now against Europe's, again, arguably best defense. But I think something that also is very important is the fact that both of these teams can play the other way as well. If Inter have the ball, they can kind of play possession style. And if City don't have the ball and they see that they can attack on the break, they have the players to do so now as well. They can play counter-attack. I just think that the deciding factor for me is that Man City's plan B is just a little bit better than Inter Milan's plan B. I think if City switch from possession to counter in a split second, they just do it better than Inter switching from defensive countering to attacking possession. I just think that despite the fact that Inter will pressure and Inter will try and get the ball off guys like De Bruyne and Gundogan before they can do anything, it's going to create spaces for everybody else. And City have proven that other players can score. They don't just need 1 or 2 players to score. I think it's also very difficult because for Inter, they've just hit form now. A player like Romelu Lukaku towards the end of the season when Inter needed him most, he has stepped up. Both of these teams have won their domestic cups. FA Cup for Manchester City and then Coppa Italia for Inter. And all of these players are just so crucial and so important to their managers and to their clubs. But I have to go with the masses here, and I have to give it to Manchester City. I don't like it because, as I said in the introduction of this video, the Serie A had 3 teams in all of Europe. Europe's 3 major competitions. They had 3 teams in the finals. And I really hoped that Fiorentina would win, because after Roma disappointed me last weekend, I needed to know that one of the Serie A teams would get it. And I think in terms of the 3 teams that were in finals, Inter have it the hardest by far. Obviously, Roma having to deal with Sevilla's history and their track record in the Europa League, and Fiorentina dealing with a dogged and stubborn West Ham. But I just think Man City is right now on a different level. And while the two teams do respect one another in terms of going forward and their abilities and their capabilities, and they will know exactly what each team and what each player brings to the table, I just think Man City's bag of tricks and Guardiola's genius is just something that is unrivaled. I think the only way City lose this one is if Guardiola falls prey to what he usually does, and that is overthinking. It's what he did in 2021 against Chelsea. It's what he did against Real Madrid in the first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu in the semi-finals. And then going into the second leg, he actually said, I will not overthink this. And City ended up obliterating Real Madrid. So I think if Guardiola is going to sit and overthink every little detail, he's just going to make it very difficult for his players, and he's going to end up frustrating everybody. Pep, I understand you're the tactician, you're the genius here, you are the man with all of the trophies, and I am just a nobody. But let your players play. Let them do what they do best. Don't stress yourself out and don't stress them out. And I think City will be treble winners this season. But yeah, if anybody's got anything else, any other opinions, maybe I've missed something, maybe I didn't speak enough about something, please drop it down in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for all the support again. Thank you for watching this video. And I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I really am, and I'm sure all of you guys are as well. So let's meet up here again next week for some feedback on this match. And stay safe out there, guys. Thank you.